Paper Mill Playhouse acknowledges that our theater stands on the traditional land of the Lenni Lenape. We honor the land and the indigenous people who inhabited it for thousands of years before European settlers arrived.
Welcome to Paper Mill Prologues. I'm Lorna Jordan, Manager of Outreach Programs here at Paper Mill Playhouse, and I'm so excited to welcome you to the second show of our 84th season. The goal of Prologues is to give our audience an extra layer of insight and context for our productions by exploring some of the themes, histories, and creative voices behind each show. Today, we'll be taking a look at an American classic of musical theater, Rodgers and Hammerstein's The Sound of Music. An audience favorite, it's no wonder that a show which is centered around hope, love, faith, and family is now seeing its sixth staging at Paper Mill. To gain a deeper understanding of this production, not only will we examine the lasting legacy of the Von Trapp family, but we'll take a look at some pioneering works of early musical theater that helped lay the groundwork for the game-changing collaboration between Richard Rodgers and Oscar Hammerstein, whose works explore the universal themes that resonated with audiences of their time and which remain relevant today. So let's get started. Composer Richard Rodgers and lyricist librettist Oscar Hammerstein collaborated for a span of 17 years on 11 musicals from 1943 to 1959.
Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. Getting to know you, getting to know all about you, getting to like you, getting to help you like me. But the world is full of zanies and fools who don't believe in sensible rules and won't believe what sensible people say. And because these daft and dewy-eyed dopes keep building up impossible hopes, impossible things are happening every day.
Together, Rodgers and Hammerstein initiated a reimagining of what musical theater could be. From Oklahoma to their final collaboration, The Sound of Music, they pioneered the integration of drama, music, and dance into stage storytelling as never before. But let's go back a little further to see what was happening before the two teamed up. In the early 20th century, Broadway predominantly featured a variety of entertainment such as vaudeville, minstrel shows, burlesque, and musical farces. In 1903, the popular vaudevillian team of Burt Williams and George Walker starred in In Dahomey, one of the first musical comedies to be written by Black writers, including poet Paul Laurence Dunbar and Will Marion Cook, one of the most important figures in pre-jazz African-American music. The show was a success, and the first with an entirely Black cast to be performed on a Broadway stage. Burt Williams, who was known for creating comic characters that captured the isolation and pathos of the Black experience in America, would go on to perform in the Ziegfeld Follies of 1910, the show that would racially integrate a Broadway stage for the first time. Cook and Williams became mentors to Will Votery, the legendary composer and orchestrator credited as the first Black arranger in Hollywood, who would in turn mentor the likes of Duke Ellington and George Gershwin, and become close friends with Oscar Hammerstein and Jerome Kern. Gradually, the American musical started developing a distinctive style, putting believable people and situations on stage and shifting from comedy toward a more realistic three-dimensional integration of music and plot. In 1927, Hammerstein and Kern's Showboat brought about the first large-scale story-driven book musical on Broadway. Prominent New York Times theater critic Brooks Atkinson gave Showboat the more fitting label musical play. The themes in Showboat included racial prejudice, spousal desertion, and alcoholism, a radical departure from previous musical storytelling that had framed spectacle as the focus of entertainment. This production made history as the first musical where white and African American singers performed together on stage. Hammerstein depicted African Americans as sympathetic characters who acted almost as a Greek chorus, anchoring the narrative of the centralized white characters whose lives were in perpetual turmoil. In a scene that took place at the 1893 World's Fair, the Black chorus performed a song titled "In Dahomey," a reference to the earlier work of Williams and Walker. This number featured a stylized tribal dance and lyrics in a supposedly African language, but once the chorus's audience departed, the performers switched to American dialect and revealed that they were not in fact Dahomey natives. Hammerstein used the ironic lyrics to call attention to the artificial nature of these Black portrayals. After the 1946 revival, the number was cut from the score. In his later musical, Carmen Jones, a reimagining of the opera Carmen, he would attempt to centralize African American characters, even insisting on casting only Black actors and forbidding the use of blackface. Yet another departure from the generally accepted practices of the time. But while the musical was hailed by critics and was successful on Broadway, the production still lacked authenticity, as the writing resulted in two-dimensional, stereotypical characters and inauthentic dialects.
And I won't give him a cigarette. One man treats me like I was mud. And all I got, that man can get.
In John Bush Jones's book, Our Musicals, Ourselves, A Social History of the American Musical Theater, Bush states, while Hammerstein's liberal thinking on prejudice and tolerance long predated his first show with Rodgers, he never let himself be social advocate first and storyteller second, no matter how important the ideas he wanted to convey. Balancing storytelling and social commentary would prove to be a trademark of his work with Richard Rodgers, beginning with their first collaboration, Oklahoma, in 1943. Oklahoma reflected a slice of American culture, boldly revealing its conflicting optimism and societal intolerance. Hammerstein was quoted to say, "I know the world is filled with troubles and many injustices, but reality is as beautiful as it is ugly. I think it is just as important to sing about beautiful mornings as it is to talk about slums. I just couldn't write anything without hope in it." Rodgers and Hammerstein's groundbreaking success in the innovative form of integrated musicals continued. In 1950, the duo won the Pulitzer Prize for Drama and numerous Tony Awards, including Best Musical, for South Pacific.
I'm as corny as cats in August. I'm as normal as blueberry pie. No more a smart little girl with no heart. I have found a wonderful guy.
However, some theaters would not produce it due to its strong progressive commentary on racism and xenophobia. When the tour of South Pacific reached a racially segregated theater in Delaware, Rodgers and Hammerstein threatened to cancel the performance unless it was integrated, which it was. The show included the song "You've Got to Be Carefully Taught," a lead character's epiphany about the irrationality of learned bigotry.
There's been much talk and criticism of putting messages into plays and motion pictures. But you don't seem to object to this, and you don't pull any punches, as in South Pacific with the song, "You've Got to Be Taught."
No, well, of course, You've Got to Be Taught is part and parcel of the story and the theme. And I don't think South Pacific would be complete without this comment. I've heard people tell me that they thought this was out of place in a musical play. But that comment usually comes from people who aren't so worried about that kind of a song in a musical play. They're really worried about the theme. They really don't agree with it. They really would not like to have it said.
You say it very simply and in words which have no doubt about them at all.
Yes. You've got to be taught to hate and fear. You've got to be taught from year to year. It's got to be drummed in your dear little ear. You've got to be carefully taught.
Carefully taught. You've got to be taught to be afraid of people whose eyes are oddly made, and people whose skin is a different shade. You've got to be carefully taught.
Hammerstein certainly was a storyteller first, but in trying to find the truth of that story and hold it up to the audience like a mirror, the advocacy followed. It's clear from his personal life that Hammerstein's desire to fight bigotry and prejudice ran deep. As an ASCAP board member, he was dedicated to protecting the rights of Black songwriters. He continuously called for the integration of Major League Baseball. He helped found both the California Anti-Nazi League and the Welcome House, an adoption program for children around the globe, many of whom were biracial and the children of American servicemen. 2 of these children would be adopted by Hammerstein's own daughter. Due to their innovative structure and influential lens of universal, deeply human and complex themes, Rodgers and Hammerstein's canon is essential to American musical theater. However, these musicals are a product of their time and may not fully transcend to our modern era. Despite a desire to promote tolerance, Rodgers and Hammerstein were not immune to the use of appropriation and cultural insensitivity. Today, the challenge for modern theater makers in staging classic revivals is to pick up and continue where Rodgers and Hammerstein left off. How do we honor the legacy of their progressive thinking while illuminating those universal themes through a lens that is representative of and relevant to our society today? Over 60 years after The Sound of Music's Broadway debut, Paper Mill Playhouse is excited to take on the challenge. We invite our audiences to ask, what can this new production offer us in today's world? Certainly, The Sound of Music offers audiences an unforgettable score of music, including My Favorite Things,
warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things.
Do Re Mi,
A deer, a female deer, hooray, a drop of golden sun. Me, a name I call myself.
and Climb Every Mountain. The song Edelweiss, sung by the character Georg von Trapp, evokes an Austrian folk ballad, a musical tribute to his homeland. Yet, the song serves as subtle protest against the Nazi annexation of the captain's beloved Austria. Performed at a pivotal climax in the show, the underlying tension and conflicting emotions of the scene feel inescapable.
Small and white, clean and bright, you look happy to meet me.
Notably, the song No Way to Stop It was cut from the movie version because it addressed class and political tensions. Therefore, it was deemed too controversial. The song reveals the conflicting perspectives between the captain and the Baroness and implies that indifference eventually would allow the Third Reich to expand its influence beyond the point of return. The song's playful, boisterous melody, paired with the disturbing indifference of the lyrics, creates an almost jarring effect, provoking the audience to question their own motivations.
You may be bent on doing deeds of daring do, but up against a shark, what can a herring do?
Be wise, compromise.
Compromise and be wise.
Let them think you're on their side, be non-committal.
I will not bow my head to the men I despise. You won't have to bow your head, just stoop a little.
And there's no way to stop it, no, there's no way to stop it, no, you can't stop it even if you try.
While removing this song and adding 2 new songs written for the movie version, I Have Confidence and Something Good, may have relieved audiences from the cynicism of No Way to Stop It, it also reduced what Rodgers and Hammerstein captured so well, the complexity of the characters and the urgency of their circumstances. Similarly to You've Got to Be Carefully Taught, No Way to Stop It is part and parcel of the story and theme, and The Sound of Music is incomplete without this critical illustration of humanity. In fact, one might argue, Why tell an Austrian story during the rise of the Third Reich unless it is meant to examine indifference and intolerance and to encourage us to learn from our past? The dangerous climate during the Nazis' annexation of Austria in 1938 brought anti-religious propaganda and policies that brainwashed children, turning them against their parents and generating fear that one's colleagues and neighbors could be spies. And yet, unwilling to compromise his principles, the real Georg von Trapp not only refused to fly the Nazi flag on his estate, but he also refused to perform at Hitler's birthday party when requested, and declined the offer of a renewed naval career.
This is true in The Sound of Music. He was asked to take over the post of the submarine base commander in the North Sea of the German Navy. And he refused to do that. And then we as a family were invited to sing on the radio in honor of Hitler's birthday, representing the Austrian people. Of course we couldn't do that. And you can't say no 3 times to the Nazis and stay. So we knew we had to leave.
The family left Austria shortly after and relocated to the United States, eventually settling in Vermont.
Why did you pick Stowe, Vermont? Any special reason?
I suppose the combination of people and mountains. It's the same mountain people as in Europe, and the mountains.
And it does look like your native Austria.
Little bit.
After World War II came to a close, Georg and Maria von Trapp founded the Trapp Family Austrian Relief Incorporated Initiative, the largest private effort in the U.S. to send aid to war-torn Austria. For decades, their story has continued to be revoiced through productions of The Sound of Music. The relevance of the show is unquestionable. Its themes of intolerance and indifference still resonate in today's world, while the show's music remains nostalgic. As theater journalist and author Lawrence Maslin wrote, The Sound of Music's original Broadway cast album stayed on the charts for 276 weeks until November of 1965, and it overlapped with the movie soundtrack of The Sound of Music for 9 months. The soundtrack album then continued on the charts for a total of 233 weeks until March of 1969. Today, we welcome theatergoers to celebrate the Rodgers and Hammerstein legacy, and we invite you to reflect on the worldviews that impacted their art. Hammerstein once said, "If you really believe in the brotherhood of man and you want to come into its fold, you've got to let everyone else in too." And now I'm pleased to introduce some of the amazing performers bringing the Von Trapp story to life. Leading the cast as Maria is Ashley Blanchett, who Paper Mill audiences will remember as our very own Cinderella. And in the role of Captain Von Trapp, Paper Mill is excited to welcome Graham Rowett. And of course, the stage will be filled with talented young artists as the Von Trapp children. Annalise Scarpacci as Liesel, Coleman Simmons as Friedrich, J.C. Sink as Louisa, Cody Braverman as Kurt, Tara Rajan as Birgitta, Austin L. Fisher as Marta, and Charlotte Sidney Harrington as Gretel. For everyone here at Paper Mill, we wish you a safe and healthy holiday season. So long, farewell, and enjoy the show.